What up, everyone? Joe Quills here with you on this Thursday night here. Let me blur that out. Nobody really needs to see that shit behind me, at least tonight, because I'm set up a little bit differently tonight. I am facing my TV tonight because we have college basketball action, yo. Had a hell of a game between Michigan State and Kansas State. K-State advances to the East Regional Finals. They go from Manhattan, Kansas to Manhattan, New York, and they advance to the regional finals. I refuse to call it the Elite Eight because, like I've told you before, the Elite Eight is the Division II version of the Final Four. Fuck you, NCAA. I'm calling it the regional finals. All right. And I told my friend Brenda I wasn't going to curse today. Oh, well. That lasted about 5 minutes. Anyways, apologies for starting off a few minutes late here. Got done at 9 o'clock. Wanted to eat something just so I could take my evening pills. And then I was trying to cast my computer to my new TV that I have. That didn't work out as planned. But hey, shit happens sometimes, but it's all good. And I'm with you here. Got some interesting stories here tonight. If you saw the if you saw when I updated the notes earlier today, the Saints of Medicine, I'll get into that. Also, Enter Sandman was banned apparently. I'll tell you what that's all about. And we might have seen the basketball equivalent of Angel Hernandez. I'll get to that as well here. So, first of all, hope everybody had a great day out there. Mine was a little hectic. Did have a little bit of a relaxing moment today because anytime I don't have to take calls for an hour when we have a group activity like we did, that's a great thing. And so hopefully I seem a little more calm than I normally am, even though the customers are driving me nuts near the end of the game, end of the day today. But anyways, just trying to find the one story here for the second story here that the second story here that I mentioned. And Mickey's in the chat. Welcome aboard, Mickey. Okay, I found it now. So, anyways, and we did have hockey action. Flyers started early tonight because they were on ESPN or ESPN Plus or ESPN, the Ocho, whatever ESPN it was. Flyers won in a shootout. Be still my heart because they finally won in that goddamn shootout that needs to fucking go. Wasn't gonna curse. I used 2 F-bombs already today. So, anyways, breaking news, and I don't know if it's tearing news actually, but I'm sitting here watching, and if you follow me on Twitter, and you know I'm working, and I'm tweeting sports like I was, you know something really important happened today. And it did because the Phillies lost Rhys Hoskins for the year with an ACL tear. It was confirmed about 2 hours ago. Tough break for Rhys Hoskins, who was in a contract year. As soon as I saw the injury, I was like, that's an ACL tear. But I didn't play doctor and say that's an ACL tear. I said, oh, that's a non-contact knee injury. That's not good. And you knew it was not good when they did the football equivalent of getting the card out and putting him on the cart just so he can go back and wherever they took him. Now, Rob Thompson did say during the game when they interviewed him about the 5th or 6th inning, whatever inning it was, they said that, oh, he's walking around in the locker room. that don't mean shit, because truthfully, you can walk with the leg that has a torn ACL. It's just that there's no stability in the leg, because that's what those ligaments in the knee are for, to keep your leg stable. And unfortunately, Phillies lost him for the year. And but I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think the Phillies are really going to miss a beat too much with Rhys Hoskins out. I'll tell you why before we get to what I had originally planned. Because let's think about this here. When it comes to the Phillies, they do have Derek Hall. Now, you're going to say, well, he has a hard time with left-handed hitters and blah, blah, blah. I'll tell you one thing. The one thing that I really liked about Derek Hall, more than him bashing home runs, glimpses of Jim Thome or maybe Ryan Howard, because Ryan Howard couldn't hit left-handers. Well, I couldn't hit curveballs either. But the one thing I will say is that gives Derek Hall an opportunity to play first base, at least in a platoon situation, because I imagine what's going to happen here is Derek Hall will play first base most of the time. Those games when a left-handed starter comes in, I would imagine that Alec Bohm moves from third to first, and then maybe Edwin Sosa plays third base, or if there's somebody else that can play third, maybe you put them in there, see what happens with that. And now, one thing I would not be surprised that would happen in the second half of the year, maybe in August. Do not be surprised. And this is just gut feeling. I don't know anything that's going on here. This is gut feeling. I said it on Facebook when my buddy, when one of my buddies was commenting with me. The one thing I would say is I would not be surprised if you would see Bryce Harper at first base later in the year when he's cleared of throwing. And because the one thing I did, and thankfully I also got into a chat, in a private chat with my good friend Mike Abadir out in California. And if you remember, some of you remember, that was the first podcast I was ever a scheduled guest on. That was my first one that I was on, because I won his handicapping contest the first year that he had his show. I was listening to it. I was catching up. I was like, oh, let me get in this. And Eagles won the Super Bowl, and I won that contest, and got to be on the show. And forged a great friendship with both him and Gino Picola. Gino Picola is now doing other things. But I'll tell you one thing. I would not be surprised. Well, actually, going back to my story here, is I went off on a different tangent. And Gerald Contreras, welcome aboard as well. You're seeing me go off on tangents like I usually do. But I talked to Mike Abadir on Twitter this afternoon. I asked him, I said, didn't Shohei Ohtani have an a UCL injury, and he had the Tommy John surgery? And didn't he play? Wasn't he exclusively a designated hitter for 1 year? And he did say yes. I was like, okay, so I'm not imagining things. So I would imagine what would happen with Bryce Harper is, while he's not completely cleared of throwing, when he's cleared to start playing, he'll play as designated hitter. And I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if we see Bryce Harper at first, like in August or September, because he's the type of athlete that he could play that position. He could play any position on the field, in my opinion. Because if you remember, and this is more for the people that are going to listen to this in the podcast form, the Philly Guy Speaks on Apple, Spotify, Spreaker, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts. If you remember back when we were waiting for sports to return after um, after the beginning of the pandemic and everything was shut down because it's like, what the hell are we going to do here? Um, the one thing I would say is that I will mention here is Bryce Harper was lobbying Joe Girardi. Remember that guy? He was lobbying to play third base, and um, Girardi let him play third base in an intra squad game for an inning. But it's just like it was just one of those things that would happen when nobody else could play third base. And you need somebody to play there, that sort of thing. Um, but I just think that with the fact that his elbow is what it is right now, I would not be surprised if you see Bryce Harper over at first base because you would be protecting his arm a little bit in his elbow, I would think, because he wouldn't have to do many throws. I mean, but then again, that year with the when the Mets went to the World Series, they had their first baseman. I forget his name. Remember, he had that key throwing error that cost the Mets the World Series. Essentially, charged the World Series. I don't think that he would be that bad, but I think that Bryce Harper is enough of an athlete that he can adapt to first base very quickly. And we got a thunderstorm here in Philadelphia, ladies and gentlemen. Little added Mother Nature's fireworks there. So, and I got the windows open because it's hot in here tonight. So I was hoping get a nice breeze coming in with the way that my apartment is situated here. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened, but it's a very unfortunate situation for Rhys Hoskins because it is a been unfortunate situation with that knee injury. And Gerald Contreras says, same here, late afternoon shower. Here in Philly, it's been on and off rain all day. And actually, it's going to be like this for the next 2 days on and off just because of the way that the storm's going to stall out right over my area. With your AccuGuess forecast, I'm Joe Quills. But I will tell you one thing for Rhys Hoskins' future. Even if his future, when his next contract comes up, that he does end up being the designated hitter for the Phillies or for another team, I think that if there is a knee that you tear as a right-handed batter and also as a right-handed pitcher, because I mentioned the pitchers more than the hitters, it's definitely the left knee. Now, granted, you got all kinds of things that you can do with the left leg when you swing a bat, but when you drive off of that right leg, that's where all your power is. So when you swing through, you're doing all that power and you're exploding on the ball. That's from bringing it back here and leaning back and then going through the ball. Same with the pitcher. You're right on the mound and you're exploding through with the pitch. And I showed you the hand. But, I mean, probably one of the reasons why I fizzled out in sports so early is because my knee went bad on me at a young age because I screwed it up numerous times. But yeah, it's a shame that it happened, and it'll be okay. So I wouldn't be worrying about I wouldn't necessarily be worrying about the short. I wouldn't be worried about the short term too much because I think Derek Hall can play even in a platoon situation with Alec Bohm, where Alec Bohm would be flip flopping between first and third. I have no problem with that. So, and Bryce Harper is on his way, and I think he could play first base, possibly. Given an extended trip down the Lehigh Valley, and in that trip, not necessarily use him in a game situation, but like just some of the fundamentals of playing first base. I'm sure that he can adapt quickly because if you remember when Bryce Harper was coming up in high school, remember the whole SI cover when he was in high school, how he was the next great baseball player or whatever they said exactly. He was a catcher. So he's used to those short hops and everything like that. So I'm sure he can handle first base without any issue. So just some thoughts there with that. So, but that came up this afternoon. I'm like, oh, shit, do I got to talk about this? So unfortunately, Hoskins is out for the year, but I think you have enough pieces there with what you have with Derek Hall, without Bohm. I think Kyle Schwarber can play first too, and then you can put. And I'm suggesting Bryce Harper as a wild card there. Who knows? But yeah, everything should be fine there. It's just that you lose a bat with a lot of power, and who knows? Maybe you reload with somebody. Maybe Derek Hall is that guy. But we'll see what happens with that. So I just wanted to talk about that before I get into the major points I wanted to make here. And I just want to get the name right here. Forest Moreau. Okay, because I was thinking it was Justin Moreau. This is a sad situation, but I hope that he recovers. And Forest Moreau, the former Las Vegas tight end, Las Vegas Raiders tight end, stepped away from football to battle Hodgkin lymphoma after his Hodgkin lymphoma diagnosis. I had trouble with big words. I'm sorry, especially today. Yeah, so he was. He had a routine physical with the New Orleans Saints. I guess the Saints were looking into signing him, and he said Moreau said on Twitter, through somewhat of a miraculous process, this free agency period has been life changing for me. He during a routine physical with the Saints medical team, I've come to learn that I had Hodgkin's lymphoma and will be stepping away from football at this time right now. Opponent cancer, and he's got the right attitude there, and I hope he makes a recovery from that. And and whenever you hear anything like this, I don't care what it is. I don't look at the football aspect of life. I don't look at the sports aspect of life. I look at life itself. And you know what? If you never play football again, as long as you get to live another 40, 50, 60 years, that's what I want to talk about. Thankfully, the Saints found it. And it's not the first time that they've made a life-saving diagnosis. Mickey will know this from knowing all us Philly people. If you remember Jon Dorenbos, who was the Eagles long snapper, was the magician who was on America's Got Talent. I'm not sure if I think he was traded to New Orleans one year. And they did a physical on him, and they found a heart condition with him. He had to go under the knife and had some major surgery. Dorenbos did not return to the NFL, obviously, because that's something even more dangerous. But Jon Dorenbos did survive, he's touring, he's doing his magic thing, and Jon Dorenbos is such a good dude, and I can't, I can't, you know, and I enjoy everything he does. Um, Such a great entertainer, even post NFL career. Um, and hopefully the Saints saved another life here, and that's what I'm hoping here. And I hope that Foster Moreau, whether he does come back and play in the NFL or he never plays another game again, I hope that he lives 40, 50, 60, 70 years. Because whenever we hear a major injury, a major diagnosis like this, I'm not worried about the sports career. I'm worried about uh, the life factor in this. And I have no problems with saying I hope that they live 40, 50, 60, 70 years. And I would not be disappointed if he never plays football again because the quality of life is what I'm worried about here. So um, and yes, Wildcats are moving on, Mickey. They defeated um, they defeated Michigan State in overtime in a real exciting game. Even though I had to watch it with the TV turned down because I was working till 9 o'clock. And Connecticut put a beat down on Arkansas. So much for Bill Musselman getting to the regional finals for the third straight year. Um, 88-65 UConn over Arkansas in the first NCAA tournament game ever held in Las Vegas. So, and like I said on Tuesday night, there was a fascinating article on ESPN how that came about and how they have the Frozen Four coming up. They had the Final Four coming up in 28. Frozen Fours, I think, in 26. So just in the fact of the NCAA realm, all kinds of crazy things happening with the acceptance of sportsbook gambling now. So right now um, we have Tennessee up 7-5 on Florida Atlantic, and later tonight we got Gonzaga and UCLA, the rematch of the 2021 final, which was semifinal, which was an amazing game. And hopefully we get another one just like that tonight. I mean, that's all you can ask for here. So, yeah. So, um, so I'm keeping an eye on the TV here. Um, couldn't get the TV the way I wanted it because I do have the new TV, and what I wanted to do was I wanted to stream to the TV CBS and watch the game on TBS or TNT, I mean, but didn't work out as planned. So I'm like, screw it. I'll just watch the one game. It's not that big of a deal to me. But yeah. So, um, and welcome in Penguin AZ as well to the show. Um, and, but when it comes to the New Orleans Saints, I guess they are Saints because they hopefully saved another life here. And hopefully they called it quick enough, which I imagine that they did. And Moreau is since Moreau is a well-fit athlete, obviously being an NFL player, a tight end, hopefully he can make it back to the league. And also I'm going to say this because I do end up making this into into podcast form here. Um, just to let you know, Penguin AZ, if you saw my screen, you would see why I could see you right away. And I imagine you do know that from when you're on the last call with Duncan Dad, you play action reel. Sometimes me, I hop on a little bit. I did a guest episode. I was a guest. So, but let me find this next story. And this was a story that I found the other day. And this actually, believe it or not, I found on WMMR, which is a sports radio, not a sports station, the rock station here in Philadelphia. Been a rock station for over 50 years. And they had a story here mentioning why Enter Sandman was banned during the 2023 tournament. Let me share my screen here for a minute. There we go. So just to give you a little bit of a background here as I'm sharing my screen there. And thankfully, the advertising is something family oriented there. One of my friends did a screenshot and actually had something pornographic on there. Anyways, if you're familiar with Virginia Tech, the one thing that they do is, and I thought it was just for football, and I guess they do it with all their teams. They like to come out to Enter Sandman. And trust me, I've done it a few times. I've gotten into a YouTube hole and I started watching one entrance of Virginia Tech coming out to Enter Sandman. Then I saw another one. Then I saw another one. Next thing you know, I'm sitting here for like an hour and then I'm watching great openings from other schools. But they like to come out to Enter Sandman. And as you know, that was Mariano Rivera's song. And I actually found an article that he doesn't even listen to that type of music. Not surprised by that. And the thing is, everybody has their own taste in music. Not going to argue with anybody. And, and if I'm ever in somebody's car and they got something that I don't listen to, fine, play it. Because, the way I am, your car, your rules. But back to the story here. Enter Sandman was banned. Now, it is a bit of a catch here. And the NCAA is no stranger to questionable rules and regulations. It involved Enter Sandman. Enter Sandman became a staple of many Virginia Tech sporting events since the year 2000. But because the Virginia Tech women's basketball team had their first two games at home, they had the opportunity to host, but because it was a tournament game and not a regular season game, they could not play Enter Sandman as the team came on the court because they want to try to keep things as neutral as possible, even though the site is Virginia Tech's home court. One thing that the NCAA does here, and you see it right here, one way the NCAA banned it, one reason why they banned it is because they threaten to fine the host if it plays traditional hype songs during tournament games like Virginia Tech's Enter Sandman, because they try to keep things as neutral as possible despite being on Virginia Tech's campus and in their arena. But the fans, which I imagine is mostly the student section, I wouldn't be surprised if it was the whole arena, they had an answer to this. Of course. Oops, I didn't want to play a second time. But there you see, as I need to get rid of that here. Oh, hi. And as you see there, the Virginia Tech fans got creative. There was no sound. Ah, shit. All right, hold on. Let's try this again. Go and try this one more time. If it doesn't work, okay, here you go. Hopefully you heard it that time, but you see the creativity of the Virginia Tech fan base saying, "Oh, we can't have that song playing over our loudspeakers." Okay, Penguin or Gerald, did you guys hear that or not? But basically, what they did was the crowd started singing it, and um, one way that um, even if you didn't hear it, if you remember the old ECW before WWE took it over and ruined it, um, there was a wrestler called the Sandman. He had a kendo stick and all that. And anytime he came into the arena to wrestle, it took him about 5 or 6 minutes to get into the arena because he had to chug about a 6 pack of beer on the way in. And the whole crowd, which at the ECW arena, they would be singing along to Enter Sandman just like the Virginia Tech crowd was. So, um, that I saw that. I was like, oh, that's cool. But yeah, that was WMMR that mentioned, it was mentioned on other sites, but my source was WMMR because I was just scrolling on Facebook one morning when I got up. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I'll use that for my show. So yeah, that was a interesting thing to say the least here. So um and and Enter Sandman is one of the top sports anthems according to WMMR or Beasley or whoever decided to do that. But I thought that was a fun thing on there. So thought that was interesting. Um, you know, what's that saying? When you make when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Virginia Tech did that. So, and just to let you know, and this is also for anyone who's listening to the podcast and they're saying, "Man, I don't want to go to No Filter. I don't want to go there." First of all, you should be here because of the fact that I'm here. We have um, we have the Bleacher Brothers, the different shows that we have here. We have Stephen Luker and Play Action Reels. Um, geez, this is why. Let me try this again. 3, 2, 1. So um, just within the Bleacher Brothers umbrella. You got the Palm Beach Capos show, which is um, our football team down in Florida. Um, we have a Monday night show with AJ Johnson, and it's an amateur football team based out of Palm Beach County, 18 and older league. it's an opportunity to live out dreams, and who knows, maybe you get lucky and um, you get found by somebody, whether it's a college or whatever. So we have that. Um, we have um, the show that was escaping me, Retro Ad Monday with Stephen Luker, Play Action Reel. You got the Bleacher Brothers show, which is on Wednesdays. We even go away from the sports with Now You're Cooking with Chef Tom and some guy, Philly guy or something. Oh wait, that's me. Got Tony Bruno here on Friday nights. You got Pouring Perspective with Play Action Reel. Rock and Jocks with Rock and Rhys on Saturdays. Um, Softball for Dummies with Stephen Luker. He's a real fan of softball. Gerald Contreras, even though he's not in the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network, I'll promote anybody. He's here. He's got a Derby prep shows for the Louisiana Derby and for the Sunland Derby on Sunday. And I didn't realize that was Sunday. So we got Captain Ron's show. Gerald Contreras, his show is all horse racing. And I'm actually off this weekend. So I can tell you one thing. I'm going to be going from Rock and Rhys to Gerald to whoever else, because I don't care who it is. I will promote you. So, but the one thing is with my show, if you're listening on the podcast and you want to join me here every Tuesday and Thursday night, 9:15 Eastern time, we started about 10 minutes late there. Don't tell the boss. Oh wait, but if you're listening in the podcast form after the fact or watching this on archive, see that little fist button over there on the right? I had to do that. I had to do it in this weird angle just so I can not have my finger blurred. We'd like to be interactive here on No Filter. Knock. We'll bring you in. We'll have a fun conversation here, and we'll go from there. So, I've been on both ends of it. I've knocked on other shows. I've had people knock on the show. It's a fun thing here. We could talk and have some fun here. So, or if you're shy or you just don't feel like knocking, that's fine too. We have a chat box that you can join us with. So, so those that are listening on the podcast side, come on over. We'll have some fun here. So, we're going to have fun. That's what this is all about for me, is fun, because, I was doing this on Twitch. I was looking as an extension of my podcast, and I got talked into here. And it was just a matter of time, because I knew I was going to eventually go here. But, yeah. Oh, and I got to tell you a story from Tuesday. Whew. And Tuesday was my first day back playing horses, a full card, in months. I had enough money in my account. I was like, you know what? I'll just play win wagers so I can do everything. But I decided, I'm still gonna make my notes here of all my pick fours and the early and late pick fives and parks. And and then I went to see my dad Tuesday afternoon. So, and I wasn't hitting, because I figured, hey, if I'm hitting a couple of races early on, like maybe I hit a 5, 6, 7 to 1 shot, I'll have money to play the pick five. So I would have had a $16 wager, $16 total bet on the pick five at Parks. And I would have played a $16 pick four. I would hit the pick five for 900. I would hit the pick four for 800. I would hit the pick five The pick 4 paid $900. The pick 5 paid $800. So I would have had about $1,700 in my account. But it's good to know that, yeah, I'm not as rusty as I thought it would be. So that's a good thing. So just to let you guys know about Gerald Contreras, horse racing guy. He has his show here on the weekends here. Couple of things he did say here. We give out great opinions, ways to get free money, etc. His co-host Nick is a big vertical playing guy. Gerald is more horizontal, and gave out a $1,100 trifecta a few weeks ago. Nice. Well, and there is the Tony Bruno story that Gerald may not know about. Mickey knows about it. Penguin AZ knows about it. Tony Bruno had Hammer and Hank Goldberg on his show the day before the Derby, or 2 days before the Derby on the show. And they're going through the horses. And Tony gives a 5-horse superfecta. Superfecta pays $50,000. And Tony did not play it. Well, that Monday show was interesting. But yeah, I mean, yeah, we all could use $50,000 no matter how much money is in our bank accounts, trust me. But yeah, that was, I remember listening to that podcast like a week later because I was behind on podcasts. I wrote the numbers down and I looked at them like, oh shit. But yeah, that was not, and you get sidetracked with everything, it happens. But yeah, I never hit anything that big, but whenever Tony does have his superfectas, I now play them because maybe I get a 50K out of it. But I don't think that happens this year, but you never know. We didn't expect last year's Derby at all either. So, but last year I told everyone for weeks to use the horses that back in late, like Rich Strike. He had a $4 exacta for $8,200. Wow. Yeah, I remember when I was sitting at Harris, Philly, my buddy and I, he lives in Delaware County, which is right below the airport. And I remember the first thing I said was that the 2 that won? Because you can't hear, the call because everybody's yelling and screaming. But 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 it turned out it was Rich Strike, the 21, because that color was so close to the 2. You're like, is that the 2 or is that the 21? Now, if you're watching at home, you would hear Larry Colmus going batshit crazy because it was the 21 Rich Strike and not the 2, whoever that was that night. But yeah, it was a crazy day that day, and I never saw that horse. But I mean, I had the idea of, there was enough speed in the race. I did see that at least. Good. Yeah. So Gerald says here as well, we've been doing future bets since the beginning of November. And we've had great coverage already. And yeah, I definitely need to catch that on Saturday, and I will be home. And I'll definitely be watching. I'll definitely be watching here from my apartment on Saturday. Don't think I'll be up early enough for most of the Dubai races because they start so early. yeah, I'm definitely going to pop into that show, and I encourage everybody to go to his show as well if you're a horse racing guy. Um, you know, I mean, I talk a good game, but I feel like I'm like middle of the road. I'm not completely amateur, but I'm not a top notch professional because the reason why I love horse racing is because it's trying to figure out a puzzle. That's what I like about it. It's just that it's the money aspect of it that people get turned off by it. If you take the right mentality, it's a good game for you. It's not for everybody because everything. And I tell everybody, even with my Friday fade picks, which will be out on tomorrow's show, that will be audio only. One thing I always tell people bet within your means because especially with this show and the podcast, the audio only show on tomorrow night, these picks are free. Bet with your head. Um, um, yeah, yeah, and that's the one thing, with people like Gerald, feel free to ask questions. I mean, even if I can't answer the question on this show, he's the guy. Give him a watch on No Filter on Saturday for the Louisiana Derby and Sunday for the Sunland Derby. As we get into the final round of qualifying for the Kentucky Derby on May 6th, and can't believe next week is the start of the baseball season. It's also April 1st, April Fool's Day on next Saturday. I miss messing around with people on April Fool's Day all the time. Maybe I'll mess with people on Saturday. That ruins the joke for some of my followers. Oh well. I did tell people that, and of course I'm going off on tangent upon tangent upon tangent. I apologize for that, but one year I did tell people that I got a job with the Dallas Cowboys, and being from Philly, it was and it was before I ended up getting my 2 degrees at Drexel, and some people actually believe me. And I actually had one person who read my post on Facebook, texted me and said, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "No, it's an April Fool's joke." But I had to let them off the hook and say, "Hey, I'm joking around here. They knew it was a joke, blah, blah, blah." So I can't do anything Dallas Cowboy related or anything like that. But yeah, so just don't do anything stupid that'll get you into trouble, even on um, April Fool's Day. Played a trick on my mom the one time. She almost beat the crap out of me at the age of 35, but that's a story for another day. Okay. Let me see here. Let me go back over to here. Anybody see the controversial game last night between the Warriors and the Mavericks? And I'm going to pull this up here for you so I can see if I can get the video going here. Of course, I ruined it because somebody commented on a post. So I wanted to see what they'd say. And I know this is great podcasting and streaming, so I'm trying to find some here. Okay. Well, Apparently, last night during the game between the Warriors and the Mavs in Dallas, there was a play where a ball went out of bounds right when there was a timeout on the court. It was a Dallas timeout, and the referee points that way, signaling Warriors ball. Then he points to the other direction, pointing as if it's actually Dallas's ball. And here he was pointing because Dallas called a timeout. So they come back from the timeout. It's Warriors ball. Mavericks are thinking it's their ball, but if they're thinking it's their ball, then why is nobody on the other side of the court? And then the Warriors inbound, it got an easy layup. And here's the video here. Let me. Oops. Let me share this here. Now I'm still getting used to the setup here because I've been doing this for about 2 months now on here. There we go. And I'm going to share this, and hopefully you hear the sound on this from the commentary here. This is actually the first time I'm actually watching this video here. So here's the video. Actually, this is after the timeout. Now, that whistle that you heard wasn't the part of the play there. That was a replay, and it led to the basket. So that whistle that you heard, if you heard it, was not anything related to it. So probably should have used the ESPN video here. Let me pull that up here. Let me see if I can find this here. And I apologize once again here. I should have had this. I should have used the ESPN link. Unfortunately, I didn't. Okay, so let's see here. And of course, I got to get through this ad here. So that's why I had to mute the tab that I'm using here. And of course, it's probably a 60-second ad, which makes it even more annoying to me. Okay, here we go. So let me share this here, and you can actually see the whole play here. Hopefully, oh, got a knocker here. Gerald, I'm going to get you here in a second here. Here's the video that I want to show you guys first. There you see the missed three. Ball goes out of bounds. He signals Warriors ball, and he calls a timeout. Okay, and I wouldn't be surprised even with the appeal that um, um, Mark Cuban has filed with the NBA. I wouldn't be surprised if Mark Cuban does get fined there as well, because that was definitely because you saw there Mark Cuban was actually on the court there. But welcome in Gerald Contreras to the show. Gerald, how's it going, man?
Good, Joe. How are you?
Good, good. Oh, there we go. There we go.
Sorry about that.
No, not a problem. How's it going?
Good. I just wanted to give you a heads up. So when you're playing video, if you're playing it from another website, you will
Mhm.
not get sound for the
Okay.
audience. If
Okay.
you play it from a YouTube link,
Yeah.
it will play the sound.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I heard you saying something about, it has you, if you heard them blow the whistle, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we weren't able to hear that,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
just a tip. But yeah, I did see that. It looked like the right call to me. I mean, I don't see. I think the Mavs were just asleep. Yeah, maybe they thought it was their ball, but there was no clarification of it. He clearly called Warriors ball, and then he raised his hand and said timeout and
Yeah.
pointed to Dallas. I mean, I don't know what Mark Cuban's thinking. He's got no. They're not going to do anything for this.
Yeah. And I think he's going to get fined there because he was actually on the side of the court there with the I guess it was the ESPN crew, because I didn't see the game live, but it looked like it was the ESPN crew he was talking to there. So, and then Luca did the money thing, like, oh, paid us off or whatever he meant by that. I'm sure he's going to get fined as well, but yeah, it was a confusing situation there. Not, I mean, we can at least agree to that.
Yeah, and if they did think it was their ball, who was supposed to be inbounding? There was nobody over there.
Yeah, yeah,
So clearly they were not organized. But
no,
yeah, it was kind of an ugly mess. The Warriors are kind of getting things to go their way right now, even though they still really aren't playing that well. But everyone's kind of curious to see what happens with the Warriors if they get in, whether it's in the play-in game or in the top six. I'm kind of curious too because I'm a Kings fan, and I just have a feeling that somehow, some way, the Kings and the Warriors are going to meet in the first round,
yeah,
which would
and
be great.
yeah, that would be a great series, and they do have a history with each other with the last few years, I believe, even though the records haven't been. Um,
Yeah, they've had some good games. There's, it's a natural rivalry. They're only, like 80 miles away from each other. The Kings have been at the bottom for several years now, and the Warriors been at the top. So there's some jealousy there, I think, between local fans and Warrior fans. The Warrior fans come in and invade the arena a lot. Not a lot of the local people don't like that, and I think they feel like this is their chance to maybe make a statement. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. I think it's either going to be the Warriors they're going to match up with or the Lakers, which would be fantastic for
yeah,
people that are trying to move their tickets.
yeah, and that's that. I mean, no matter who you get, that's going to be a great series. And for those that are listening after the fact on the audio portion of the podcast, as we're recording this right now, the Sacramento Kings are third in the conference. The Warriors are sixth in the conference, so they will play each other in the quarterfinals. Lakers right now are in 10th place. They'll be part of the play-in games that would lead to the playoffs, but the way everything is out west, Lakers can basically go from 10-5 in a match, 10-5 in basically a couple of games.
Yeah, it's pretty close between the fourth and the 10th team. And even the play-in situation is going to be kind of interesting. It's going to be the 7 and 8 play each other one game. The the 7 and the 9 and 10 play each other one game. The loser of the 9 and 10 is out. The
Yeah.
loser of the 7 and 8 plays the winner of the 9 and 10. It's great.
Yeah.
I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is about the 7, 8, 9, 10. It's like it's almost like you don't have a real definition of what this is. It's not really the playoffs. So it's not really the regular season. It's like this. It's like this no man's land of games that lead to the playoffs. I just wish that they would just call it the playoffs, the playing games part of the playoff structure.
Yeah, it's the quickest way they could add 2 more teams to this, but whatever. The playoff basketball, NBA basketball is always fun, especially early. You get some matchups that don't traditionally look like real competitive series, but then they can be. So,
Yeah.
and I think the NBA playoffs are going to be really good this year, especially with the bottom teams having a lot of potential to play well, like the Warriors, like the Lakers, um, and so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I did see here today, actually when I was getting ready for the show while I was working, it appears that LeBron may be back for the final week of the regular season.
Yeah, I've heard that too. But who knows? They seem to be playing okay without him, so maybe there is no rush to bring him back.
Yeah.
But you would think that if you're in the playoffs, you're going to want LeBron there.
Yeah, you definitely want him if you're a fan of the LA Lakers. Um, so yeah, so I mean, and I'm excited here, at least on my side, being a Sixers fan. And now the thing is, we do have Doc Rivers, and his teams always seem to come up short in the playoffs. Um, and I see that. I mean, the Sixers are in third place in the East, but it always seems like Doc Rivers' teams always seem to come up small, and he gets. I mean, he did win a title with Boston, but other than that, it's really not. It really has been a bunch of um, disappointing results, no matter where he was, whether he was with the Clippers, even here with Philly and other stops along the way.
Well, the good thing about the Sixers right now is they're playing their best basketball. I mean, I think they've moved up a couple of spots, or at
Yeah,
least one spot in the last week. I think they've won 9 out of their last 10, right?
yeah,
Yeah, they're this is the time of year you want to play really good basketball. I don't know what their remaining schedule's like, but it looks like the second spot is definitely reachable, and I guess possibly even the third if they're only 3 games back of the Bucks. So
yeah. 3 games behind Milwaukee, a half a game behind Boston.
yeah, it's up for grabs there.
Yeah, and hopefully, and yeah, I all I hope for is for great basketball. And yeah, I'll be disappointed if the Sixers lose in 7 like they did when I was actually at the game a couple of years ago when they lost to the Hawks. Um, I just hope for great basketball, no matter what it is, whether it's the Sixers in there or not, or if your teams are there or not.
Yeah, well, if talk about great basketball, I don't know if you caught any of that uh, Michigan State Kansas State game that was just on. That was
Yeah, that was crazy.
unbelievable. It
Yeah,
was a really good game, and I'm looking forward to the UCLA Gonzaga game. I was lucky enough to get to the West or the first and second round here at Golden One Center in Sacramento and see some good basketball. I saw Princeton beat who was it? Arkansas? Who they
Arizona.
beat?
Yeah,
Arizona.
Missouri.
That's right. Arizona. Arizona just completely collapsed in that game, and Princeton was like 4 for 26 from three, something ridiculous.
Yeah,
And they kept shooting them at the end, and they found a way to win. Pesky team. I would not be surprised if they moved on to the Elite Eight. We'll see, but
yeah,
they've been fun, and I do appreciate you talking a little bit about our show. Yeah, I talk to Nick all the time on the show. I said, I know there's a lot of people that do wagering throughout No Filter, Eric and his guys, and some other people with some other shows. And I'm like, they're betting single games. And I'm like, the payouts for single games, I said, that doesn't interest me. I said, I wish I could get some people in to look at some of the payouts that of the races we watch, 30 to 1, 20 to 1.
Yeah.
I told you about the one that was that dollar try that we hit was, I think it was close to 1,200, not 1,100. I
Yeah.
mean, we're not experts. We're still fairly new to horse racing. Nick's really new, but has really picked it up. I've been watching and wagering for probably 10 or 15 years, not a long time. I'm still learning. That's one of the reasons why I started the show, was to bounce stuff off of people. I was hoping more people would come in and talk a little bit about it. But Nick's been great. We often have different opinions, and that's kind of what you need. So yeah, anybody that wants to come in, pop in. You don't have to know anything about it. Rhys pops in, and we educate Rhys on what we're looking for in a race, and it's just kind of fun. We'll
Yeah.
watch a race, we'll give out an opinion, and then we'll usually give out some kind of pick. So yeah, if anyone gets out there, gets a chance, pop in and say hi and just hang out.
Yeah. And now last week, I don't know if you were on last week. Obviously, I was working, so I couldn't sneak away from my work positions as I'm working from home. But this week, nothing planned. I will definitely be there both Saturday and Sunday, and hopefully I can give you my opinion as well. And who knows? Maybe we can get an exacta, trifecta, whatever it is.
Yeah, and I'm always letting people know if they do have a wagering site that they play on. I'm always letting them know, hey, they're giving you money back special. Man, there's so many opportunities for free money on these sites. So I belong to three sites. I do ExpressBet, TVG, and Twin Spires. And between the three of them, almost every Derby prep, they have a money back special where if you pick a horse to win up to about 10 or 15 bucks, they
Yep.
give you your money back if it comes in second and third. I'm like, we abuse those things like crazy
Yeah.
between the three
Yeah.
sites. It's like insurance. And so we're building our bankroll for the Derby, and we encourage people to come in, ask questions, and we'll give them the best advice we can,
Yeah.
depending on what their situation is.
Yeah. And the funny thing was, when I was with my dad on Tuesday, ironically, we were talking about those money back specials that TVG and Twin Spires has. I mean, those are two accounts that I have those specials. And I told my dad, I was like, yeah, I couldn't get into my TVG account, probably because I didn't have any money in there for a little while. But and I was like, well, I'm going to do it on Monday, because if I put a deposit in, then I can get the fees waived. But I tell people, always look at those offers, because you might see something there. Like, you may even see, like, Twin Spires on Tuesday had trifectas, 15%, I think it was. I'm not
Low
usually a
takeout.
trifecta guy, but if I wanted to play a trifecta, I would click on that offer, and then I'd start playing trifectas as well.
Yeah, and then depending on what state you're in, I know it's not legal in all the states, but I'll let you know, hey, this site has a really good sign up promo if you don't belong to a wagering site. And I tell people, take full advantage of those. I think 1 year, I got 500 free bucks. It was deposit up to 500, get 500. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm going to take that all day long. I mean, of course, you can only do it one time, but yeah, I tell people, check those promos, especially the sign up promotions, max amount if you can afford to, and then just bet responsibly. Bet within
yeah.
your means.
And that's something that I definitely promote on my podcast, especially when I do my audio only on Friday nights, because I will always tell everybody, bet within your means. Don't be afraid of a lower amount, and don't be afraid of taking a week off, because I got hammered on Friday on the college basketball games, and I'm telling my one friend on another site, I said, I'm not playing any games this weekend. I need the detox.
Yeah, you can't do it every week. And the good thing for us was we've been going almost every week since probably the first, about the middle of January. Last week was the first weekend that there wasn't any scheduled Derby
Yeah,
prep. Um, but the week before, I was really excited because the one that I'm really leaning on in all my Derby futures is Practical Move, and Practical Move Practical Move looked really good in San Felipe at Santa Anita, so I was really happy about. But this week, like you saw on the schedule, the UA Derbies, I'm just going to pop in and put that on just because we've been doing them. There's one filly in there that I'm hoping somehow gets first or second and gets in the Derby because I
yeah,
have I have a $2 exacted Practical Move with any filly second, and it pays about 34,000. It's incredible how much value you get in these
wow,
Derby futures. Yes,
yeah,
it was any filly comes in second place with Practical Move on top, and a couple other horses actually on top. It's going to be massive payout. So I'm hoping that Perrier gets in the top two spots. But yeah, UA Derby early Saturday. Then we have the big one, the Louisiana Derby. It's a hell of a field. I'm really looking forward to that one. And then I think just right before it is actually the Jeff Ruby Stakes. It's the one
yeah,
at Turfway Park that's on the Tapeta. Um, Not as exciting, but still, uh, there's going to be a couple of horses that get in the Derby that are not on a lot of people's radar.
yeah. And that's where Rich Strike had his last prep for the Derby as well.
Yeah, so that was an interesting story last year. I don't know if you remember, but Rich Strike got in literally in the last 5 minutes
Yeah,
of qualification. Ethereal Road scratched at 5 minutes to 9 o'clock local time there. They scurried, they got Rich Strike in, and um, it was so late. I really didn't have enough time to really consider that one. Nick had said, "Oh, this one's been running on synthetic," so I kind of discounted it. And then when the horse won, I went back and looked at the line. This horse had one win. It was on the Churchill Downs dirt, and it was by 15 lengths. I
yeah,
wish I'd have seen that. Otherwise, I would have used that one more than I did I did on the $4 exacta.
yeah,
I was all
yeah,
in with Epicenter last year, and I wasn't going to get beat, so
yeah.
that's why I used Rich Strike.
I forget who I had last year, but it definitely definitely wasn't. It definitely wasn't Rich Strike, and it definitely wasn't Epicenter. I
Could have been Zandon. Could have been one of those East Coast horses that a lot of people liked. I'm trying to think of the other one, the one in the one post. I can't think of who it was, but should be a good Derby. Forte right now looks like a beast,
yeah,
um, but he's still got to run in the Florida Derby, and I don't expect a clunker, but if something doesn't fire right and he maybe gets a second or just maybe it's a close maybe somebody comes close to beating him, it could completely change the odds. But right now everybody's putting a lot of money on Forte, and it's killing me
yeah,
because I got to try and figure a way to win money if he wins.
yeah. And the horse that won the race, uh, the previous race at Louisiana, what race was that?
That would have been the Risen Star.
Risen Star, and that was Empire.
That was Angel of Empire.
Angel of Empire. Okay.
Yes.
Now I like that horse because that race set up for a closer. Had a little found the hole and took off at the end there in the final furlong or so. Do we know where he's going to be running next?
I think he's going to go to the Bluegrass.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's going to go to the Bluegrass, if I remember right. Um, but there's if you like closers, I think the one to really pay attention to is going to be Red Route One, who
Yeah.
closed really good in his last race, and I mean he made up a lot of ground. And normally I don't like a closer in the Kentucky Derby because there's just so many horses you have to get by. A lot of times you have to go wide if you're making your move on the turn. But I think if there's one late closer that can do it, it might be Red Route One, who was flying
Yeah.
late.
Yeah. Yeah. And
But we'll see.
yeah. And I'm not saying go for the closer because we don't know how the race is going to look until they have those 20 horses set on that Tuesday before the Derby. And, we could have a race with no speed. But even when it looks like no speed there, you got 150, 160,000 with that extra grandstand that they're putting on the first turn now. Who knows how many more fans will be there? Even if we think that there's no speed, I'm always the person that, even though we look at, for example, you hear, oh, there's no speed in the race, for example. Let's pretend that happens. I'm still a believer that these horses make it spook because they're so young. And some horses are going to do things that are uncharacteristic because there's so many people there and so much noise there, especially going down the stretch the first time.
Yeah, well, last year we were pretty sure that we were going to get a fast pace because
Yeah.
Summer of Tomorrow, who was second in the UAE Derby, was basically a 7 furlong horse, and so we knew if as long as that horse got the lead, that one was going to go, and that's kind of why I'm going to watch the UAE Derby this week is because I'm wondering if there might be another speed demon in there that gets in, but um, normally in a field of 20 or 20-ish. This race runs faster than normal just because there's people trying to get position, or they get shuffled back early. It seems like there's always someone that goes. So
Yeah.
there's always an honest pace. You can always count on somebody coming from mid pack. I would say I like those more. I like those presser styles, those pressers that sit about 5 or 6 back and then make a move on the
Yeah.
last turn. They don't have to go too wide. Maybe they can cut right through the middle. But I think this year could be a closer type. So I'm just waiting to see what that final field looks like. We'll know here in about 3 weeks,
Yeah.
and then it's sit down and make your choices.
Yeah. And I can't wait for that race because usually, as long as I don't have to work and with my job that I have, I do have off that Saturday. So my buddy and I will make our trek to whatever track we decide to go to here in the Philly area, and we'll be ready to go for the Derby.
Great. It's great. It's a lot. It's one race that I think a lot of people watch that normally don't watch horse racing, which I love. That's
Yeah.
why I liked the story last year, Rich Strike. Getting in last minute. Nobody heard of the jockey. Nobody heard of the trainer. It was good for the industry. The industry's been taking a bit of a beating the last 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And
But yeah, I
yeah,
do appreciate the plug and letting me come on to talk a little bit about you. Please join in, even if it's for like 5 minutes. Come in over the weekend, whenever it is, and meet Nick and just kind of talk a little bit and
sure.
kind of listen to what we talk about when we're kind of trying to predict a pace or who we like and stuff like that.
Yeah. I will definitely be there this Saturday. And approximately what time on Saturday?
I believe it's I think it's 2:30 my time. I'm on the West Coast.
About 5:30 Eastern.
I think it's 2:30 ish.
Yeah.
Is when the program starts, and I want to say uh, the the Jeff Ruby Stakes might be 10 minutes after that, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Gerald, do want to thank you for joining me tonight. Glad to have you on the show and glad that you joined us. And hopefully, we'll hear from you and join you on Saturday and Sunday as well.
All right, thanks for letting me pop in for a little bit.
Oh, glad to have you. Glad to have you
All
here
right,
tonight, Gerald. Thank
okay,
you so much.
see ya. Bye.
Gerald Contreras, everybody. Great insight there. And definitely a show on No Filter that you should watch, especially if you are a horse racing guy like I am. Um, Actually, I did see the UAE prep. That is at 8:45 Eastern, 5:55 Pacific. Um, the Louisiana Derby, that is at 6 o'clock Eastern. On Saturday, and then the Derby prep for the Sunland Park Derby that is at 6:30 Eastern time, and you're going to be hearing from me as well because I'm going to be doing an audio only version, at least of the three at least the three. Um, I almost said Breeders' Cup, Kentucky Derby prep races. I'll get it right. It's been one of those days. But Gerald, thanks again. Do appreciate you coming on, and I'll be sure to be hopping in and watching on Saturday, which is Saturday the 25th, and hopefully, whether you're a newbie to the sport or you're seasoned. I'm somewhat seasoned, even though I've been watching for however. I've been watching from when I was a kid because here in Pennsylvania we were one of the first states that had phone bet wagering, so it was on our cable system. I was watching from when I was a teenager, and once I hit 18, oh, I'll go there. Dad taught me. Um, Dad taught me to bet within reason, and you have good days, you have bad days. It's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to have a good day. It's just the way it is. So once again, thanks again to Gerald for joining me here. And also thanks for that tip there, because just got to do a little more homework there, because got to find it on YouTube. But even if I show the video without the sound, I just have to remember that going forward, because I am new to the No Filter platform. And hey, and thanks for Mickey for pointing that out as well here. So, just want to see if there's anything else I want to mention here before we call it a night here. And just to let you guys know, just give you an update here on the college basketball games. Tennessee is up 27-22 on Florida Atlantic. The way that the scoring is, from what I see there, it is trending toward Tennessee, because they have an unbelievable defense. And right now, UCLA is up 9, 40-31 on Gonzaga in Las Vegas. And as we get closer to the end of the college basketball season there. So just want to see one last thing here. So I know everybody's bracket is busted, but hey, this is the best part. Even when your bracket is busted, you get to watch great games like this, and who knows, maybe we'll see a memorable event like 2011 when Gonzaga hit that half-court shot to win and get into the finals. And hopefully, if your school is still in the tournament, I hope they win. I don't have a horse in the race. This is the first year since 1977 that we did not have a Philadelphia-based school in the tournament. So, it's nice not to have any pressure. Now, I went to Drexel, so it's rare that my school gets into the tournament. But the one thing I always say when it comes to the tournament, one thing I will always say, especially with the city of Philadelphia, if my team's not in the tournament, I don't care. The school that's on my parchment doesn't matter. I'm going to root for a Philly team. So, I guess I could root for Princeton, because even though they're Penn's arch rival, they are not far from Philadelphia. They're only about 35 miles to the north and east of here. So, Mickey still has 3 teams in. Is that 3 teams in the Final Four, Mickey? I imagine that's what it is. Yeah, because I have 2 teams left, I believe. I have Houston still alive, and I don't even know who my other team was. That's how I don't remember who my other team was because we actually did a bracket on here on Tuesday, last Tuesday. Let me take a look at that here. And once again, great. I have Houston. Houston's all I have left. Okay, I stand corrected. I only have Houston left. Okay. Tennessee. Yeah, I know I have Houston. I have Houston winning it all because I figure, hey, if they once they get into if they can get to the Final Four, they'll have a home court advantage. Even though technically they really won't, because even though they are playing in their home city, it's kind of like the Super Bowl where your fan base doesn't go to the Astrodome. You're bringing everybody from across the country, or in the Super Bowl case, all around the world. But I still see. I mean, I think Houston is a team that can really lock you down, and they survived they survived that game with Auburn. And the reason why I use the word survive is because of the fact they were basically playing in Auburn's backyard in Birmingham. So, but they're playing this weekend in Kansas City, and this is a fun weekend. And if you're if you're the team that you root for still in the tourney, I hope that your team wins. I picked Houston for my winner. So be it. But UCLA goes into the half up 46-33 on Gonzaga. So, I do encourage you to check out Gerald's show on Saturday. Once again, if you're a newbie or you're a seasoned veteran to the game of horse racing, give him a watch. I plan on doing that this weekend. Do want to thank Penguin AZ for hopping in, Mickey for joining me tonight. I will be back on Tuesday here on No Filter. And also check out the audio portion, the audio only podcast episode of Philly Guy Speaks podcast. That'll be out late tomorrow night. As I will also take a look at the Louisiana Derby, the Sunland Derby, the Jeff Ruby Stakes, and if I can get the podcast out early enough, even the UAE Derby. So once again, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Had a blast. Great conversation with Gerald Contreras. And I will catch you Tuesday night at 9:15 right here on No Filter. This has been the Philly Guy Speaks podcast, part of the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. Good night, everybody.